So before I tell you my disturbing story, there's something you need to know. I'm an ex-police officer, but the thing is, I'm only 24. Following the events that took place in this story, I had no choice but to retire. What I seen on that dastardly day, I'll never recover from. You'll understand why soon enough. For obvious reasons, I cannot reveal what police department I served at, but I will let you know that I resided in Michigan. To absolutely no one's surprise, there is an abundance of forest in this state. Besides a few calls here and there, we don't get too many disturbances from those areas. One night while on patrol, we received a call from a heavily wooded location. I didn't think too much of it, so I decided I'll take this one. A decision I will forever regret. Here's what I remember. After driving for 45 minutes, I got to a point where my police car could traverse no further. Shit, I whispered to myself. I radioed my situation so they were aware if anything happened. It was pitch fucking black. I was usually very confident, but tonight something seemed off. Reluctantly, I pulled out my flashlight and drew my weapon and started my search for this cabin. In the eerie stillness of the dense forest, my radio crackled with a voice that sounded more like static than human communication. "Officer Turner, be advised. Reports of strange sightings and eerie sounds in the area. Approach with caution." My grip tightened on the flashlight, my senses heightened. The trail seemed to coil around me like a serpent, and an unsettling feeling gnawed at the pit of my stomach. I pushed forward, guided only by the beam of light cutting through the oppressive darkness. As the cabin emerged from the shadows, its windows were shattered and door left ajar. I sighed, knowing nothing good awaits me. The air was thick with an otherworldly presence, and my every instinct screamed at me to leave. But duty bound me to explore further, to uncover the source of this eerie disturbance. The air grew colder as I stepped into the cabin. The creaking floorboards beneath my boots seemed to announce my arrival to an unseen audience. I scanned the room with my flashlight, revealing scattered furniture and claw marks etched into the wooden walls. The unsettling feeling intensified, and I could almost taste the fear lingering in the air. I wasn't ready for what I seen next. As I entered the next room, half of a body was lying on the ground. That's right, half. It looked like the other half had been ripped clean off. I almost gagged on my own spit. I didn't even have much time to think about the scene as a guttural growl reverberated through the cabin, sending shivers down my spine. I trained my flashlight towards the source, and there, in the shadows, stood a grotesque creature. Its elongated limbs twisted into unnatural shapes, and hollow eyes fixated on me with a hunger that transcended the physical. As much as I hate to admit it, I could have sworn for a second I shit myself. I know I was a trained police officer, but this, no amount of training could ever prepare me for. The creature's unearthly howl pierced the silence, freezing me in place. It moved with an unnatural grace, gliding towards me on limbs that seemed to defy the laws of nature. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind as I realized escape was impossible. The creature's skeletal fingers grazed the air, and a foul odor, a mixture of decay and malevolence, wafted through the room. I steadied my trembling hands, aiming the firearm at the creature. My training whispered at the edges of my consciousness. This was a threat beyond the scope of my understanding. As I squeezed the trigger, the shots echoed through the cabin, each one a desperate plea for survival. The creature convulsed, but its inhuman resilience proved daunting. In an instant, it lunged at me, the darkness swallowing its form as it moved with supernatural speed. Panic fueled my movements as I stumbled backward, the creature's claws narrowly missing me. I could feel its hot breath on my neck, the stench overpowering. Desperation clawed at my chest, urging me to escape the clutches of this unholy entity. The trail of blood left by the creature painted a macabre path through the cabin. My flashlight flickered, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. A primal fear gripped me as the ungodly sight emerged from the darkness once more, its form contorted in ways that defied reason. A voice echoed in my mind, whispering ancient curses and promises of unspeakable horrors. The creature's hunger, insatiable and primal, resonated with the darkest recesses of my own fears. I felt its gaze pierce through my soul, an unrelenting force that threatened to consume everything I once knew. With every step, the creature's presence grew more oppressive, a suffocating darkness that clung to my very essence. I fired shots blindly, the deafening echoes filling the air as a symphony of desperation. But the creature persisted, its malevolent aura pressing down on me like an invisible weight. I found myself cornered, surrounded by the malevolent energy emanating from this, I don't know what to call it. My flashlight flickered one last time, plunging the cabin into an impenetrable blackness. Besides my heavy breathing, the cabin was now silent. I was frozen in place as I tried to adjust my eyes to the darkness. I felt like an eternity had passed before the silence was broken by a creak in the floorboard. My heart rate shot through the roof. A couple seconds later, another creak sounded off, and this one was closer. As my eyes finally adjusted, I could see the moonlight outside of a window. An escape, I thought to myself. As the creature took another step, I could now see a leg near the window. I grew frustrated as my exit has been blocked. "Fuck you," I managed to spit out. Shockingly, I heard a laugh, followed by a man walking into the moonlight. I couldn't believe my eyes. I had to be going crazy. Did I imagine that whole scenario? My doubts were quickly put to rest as the man spoke. His voice, something wasn't right about it. "Get down!" I yelled as I raised my firearm. He didn't even acknowledge it, just continued inching closer. With no choice, I dumped my whole mag into him. His body fell out of the light. I reached for my radio, but realized it must have fell off during the altercation. I realized I'd have to go back to the patrol car to call for backup. As I made my way to the window, a force sent me flying back into the wall. The creature laughed as it appeared once more, bringing its arm back to its body. I couldn't move. Not due to fear, but I'm pretty sure that smack broke almost every bone in my body. I could feel myself passing out. I cried as I accepted my fate. The creature made its way towards me when a loud gunshot went off. I took my last breath as my eyes closed. I've been released from the torment of life. Except I wasn't. I awoke. I couldn't believe I survived. I shot up, but to my surprise, I was in some sort of hut. I reached for my weapon, but realized it wasn't on me. It soon dawned on me that all my pain was gone. I was in complete disbelief. As I tried to get up, someone spoke in a language that I've never heard. I turned sharply in the direction the voice came from. It was a man. But this man was different. His clothing resembles that of an ancient Indian tribe. He raised his hands in a disarming way, communicating he was no threat. "Who are you?" I questioned. He turned around to a table and grabbed a bowl. Walking slowly, he handed the bowl to me. I refused. "Drink," he said deeply. I don't know why, but I did as he said. The liquid had a taste that I can only describe as earthly. I almost threw it up. The man looked in disappointment. He turned once again, grabbing a chair and pulling it next to where I sat. "I save your life." I sat in silence for a moment as I had so many questions to ask. "Thank you," I said gratefully. The man shook his head slowly in a way to say you're welcome. After about 30 seconds of silence, I finally asked, "What was that thing?" The man looked disturbed by the question. He looked away. "Tell me," I said aggressively. More silence. He then turned back towards me, looking me dead in the eyes. "A Wendigo,"